I just invite each of you now to relax into your seat with your feet comfortably on the floor, connected to the Aina. Close your eyes if you choose, and simply allow yourself to come fully present to this time, to these words. And I speak them in the first person singular so that you may take them as your own. I know the one unifying power in the universe is everywhere equally present all the time. And because of that, I know that it resides within, around, and through me, always. Its qualities, its attributes are mine as well. The goodness, the creative expression, the compassion, the peacefulness are words that come to mind for me now. And yet the list is endless. Whatever attribute which comes to mind is that which is mine to express in every moment, in every experience, in every expression of my selfness. So each day I set my intentions for the moment, for the day, and for each experience which is unfolding within, around, and through me. I remember who I am, an expression of divine intelligence, of that creative energy which is endless, boundless, infinite, and always giving of itself by means of me. And as I look around, increasingly I see how that expresses in others. I see those qualities of goodness, of love, of abundance, of caring, wherever I look, because what I'm looking with, I'm looking at. I am always uplifted by that. For I recognize that I am cause to my own effect. And as it unfolds, I am lifted higher and higher in consciousness. So I accept these realizations for myself. I know that they are universally available. And so I know that the work I do in mind, as well as in action, reflect that acceptance. So I release these words now into the law of mind in action, doing so with gratitude and with an understanding that my belief is my action. I rejoice that this is so, and together we affirm, and so it is.
Today's affirmation is, what I believe, I receive.
So our theme this month is the physiology of spirituality. I've been having a lot of fun with this, although I can't say it hasn't been a lot of work. Generally, I've got books all around me and I'm looking up because they're stacked. but it's a fascinating subject for me. And today the topic is exploring the quantum leap of healing. Last Sunday after the service, a longtime member of our group shared something with me that I'd like to pass along with you. This person said to me, you know, the definition of the word physiology, which you have been using, meaning me, is an accurate one. However, in today's world, more often than not, it's used to define what's not working rather than what is. Sad but true, folks. How often that can and does happen. That something designed to be positive and life-affirming becomes misquoted or misinterpreted. So I'm going to reiterate that definition before we go into today's exploration in the quantum leap in healing. Physiology is the way in which a living organism or bodily part functions. Physiology is dealing with the functions and activities of living organisms and their parts, including all physical and chemical processes. And physiology means the science of normal function of living things, the study of normal mechanisms and their interactions which work within a living system. And also, I'd like to remind you that quantum, as I'm using it in this series, is, as Deepak Chopra used it, to mean a sudden change, denoting a discrete jump from one level of functioning to a higher level. So, about 17 years ago, I started reading a book by Caroline Myss, who many of you are familiar with. And at that time, this was a new publication of hers, titled Why People Don't Heal and How They Can. I was a relatively new minister at the time, and I was inspired to bring to the world the marvels of the philosophy of science of mind, especially in the field of physical and emotional healing. I thought it was her first book, so I decided to read it first. Well, it wasn't her first book, and it wasn't an appropriate one for me to read first. I got about 50 pages into it, closed it, and didn't go back to it for almost 10 years. Because I allowed myself to be stuck in the first half, where it talks about why people don't heal. Had I gone to the second half, which talks about how they can, or had chosen to read Anatomy of the Spirit, which actually is the one she wrote first, rather than this one, had I done that, I would have had a much better understanding of why people don't on the way to how they can, and a better understanding of her research and experiences with clients. My understanding of that would have been very different. So now I can say to you and to Dr. Myss, if she ever hears this audio recording, I have grown into both of these books. In fact, Caroline has a quote that addresses that. She says, "Intuition is a natural byproduct of the flowering of a mature self-esteem and a sense of empowerment, not power over, but power to be." Like many of us who discover metaphysics, Caroline came to her purpose from a distinctly different direction. Working as a journalist, during the course of her career, however, she interviewed Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, the author of the famous book on death and dying, which inspired Myss to pursue a master's degree in theology. Isn't that interesting how those connections can cause such change? And Caroline coined this phrase, to love yourself, to truly love yourself, is to finally discover the essence of personal courage, self-respect, integrity, and self-esteem. These are the qualities of grace, she said, that come directly from a soul with stamina. Mace has gone on to a lengthy career in teaching, in speaking, in writing about healing in our physical, emotional, and spiritual lives. In fact, this next week, she is speaking in San Mateo, California, on the San Francisco Peninsula, at their New Living Expo. And her topic is making power choices and creative decisions, how to navigate in times of chaos and possibility. As always, I encourage you to read the authors and their books that I talk about on Sunday in order for you to get the full power of their messages. And in this case, I also suggest you check her website for free media that's available to you for daily practice ideas and your sacred contract with life as thinking points. So, as I move on to discuss some other experts in the art of healing, I leave with you this idea from Anatomy of the Spirit. Even though we're talking about physical and emotional problems, they're basically about the human spirit. And Caroline uses energy terms to explain them. Energy is a neutral word, she says, that evokes no religious associations or deeply held fears about one's relationship with God. It's much easier for someone to be told your energy is depleted than your spirit is toxic. And just to whet your curiosity, you might want to read her chapter on Made in the Image of God, which is where this quote comes from. Now I want to shift gears to a writer that I've talked about many times and quoted almost as many, and talk about some of the work that Dr. Andrew Newberg has done during his neuroscience practice to promote quantum leaps in healing. In fact, in this month's Science of Mind magazine, Andy talks about creativity and creative problem solving as a part of our spiritual practice. One of the things he recommends is what he calls fun exercises that stimulate creativity. I found this, you should pardon the pun, amusing, what he says in this month's Science of Mind magazine, when I opened his book on how God changes your brain to the chapter on exercising your brain, and found that one of the 8 best ways to exercise your brain is to smile. I was watching you this morning and the smiles that were coming on your faces for a variety of different reasons. In fact, Andy comments that Buddhism even incorporates smiling into a spiritual practice. Well, there you go. The world's easiest spiritual practice. Smile. Smiling stimulates brain circuits, he says, that enhance empathy and mood. Smiles are also neurologically contagious in virtually every culture. It's almost like the international language. People understand it. There's something inherent in a smile and being upbeat, accepting. Smiling interrupts mood disorders and strengthens the brain's neural ability to maintain a positive outlook on life. Could it be that easy? Apparently so. Talk about a mind-body connection. This is like kindergarten in terms of its complexity. It's very easy. And yet you can carry it with you through every step on your path to greater consciousness. Another one of the 8 best ways to exercise your brain, Andy says, is to stay intellectually active. He has 2 pages of ideas in his book on how one can do that, including but not limited to engaging in spiritual issues. Well, there you go. Reading, studying, reflecting on their meaning. He also discusses some things that don't stimulate your intellectual activity. And perhaps you'd like to read that section, because I don't want to waste my time on the negative when there's so much about the positive. A third way to exercise your brain is to meditate. His research shows that meditating is number 1 in enhancing spiritual experiences. Meditating affects the nervous system in ways that enhance physical and emotional health. There are numerous examples of that listed in the book as well, worth taking a few moments of your time to read before you do your meditation process or practice. He lists 5 other ideas, 4 of which I offer for you to pursue if you choose. One of those is to consciously relax. A second one is to do aerobic exercise. You can't do those 2 at the same time probably, but you can do both of them in the course of the day. Dialogue with others. That never seems to be a problem in this group, does it? We are good at that. So you are practicing another way to exercise your brain. And here's one, yawning. Now, you can go ahead and laugh or yawn if you choose, but he has test results to prove that it stimulates intellectual activity. Look it up in the book. And last, but far from least, he says, to exercise your brain, develop your faith. We must trust our beliefs. I'm quoting him now. We must trust our beliefs, and this is a matter of faith. When we don't have faith that we are making the best decisions that we can, we're swallowed up in doubt. And doubt, as far as our brains are concerned, is a precarious state in which to live. The National Institutes of Health researchers found that even moderate optimism appears to be essential for maintaining motivation and good mental health. There is a part of our brains that is stimulated by optimism that plays a crucial part in controlling anxiety, depression, and rage, while fostering social awareness and compassion. Quantum leap in healing? For many, undoubtedly. Even the medical researchers at the Mayo Clinic stress the importance of optimistic thinking for maintaining optimal health. Positive thinking, they say, decreases stress, helps resist catching the common cold. Well, it's worth positive thinking just to avoid that, isn't it? And positive thinking reduces the risk of coronary heart disease, to name just a few. There's a long list in the book that they talk about. I picked out the ones that I wanted. Indeed, the role of optimism is so important in maintaining psychological health that the University of Pennsylvania has an entire institute dedicated to this research. Dr. Newberg qualifies his findings by saying that religion, in and of itself, has no specific effect if it holds little meaning or value for the individual. It can be a powerful mechanism for optimizing the brain's function with positive, life-affirming faith and trust, or a harmful effect on neural functioning if its beliefs are negative. That is so huge. We'll probably talk about that again. I would just add to that, practice clarity, focus, ease, and grace in your spiritual practices. So the third person I want to talk about today is one that some of you have heard me make reference to before. His name is Fred Luskin. Fred has a PhD in counseling and health psychology from Stanford University, and his work offers startling insight into the healing powers and medical benefits of forgiveness. His proven forgiveness method makes it possible for one to move beyond being a victim in life to a life of improved health and contentment. Here's what Fred suggests we all begin with as the process of forgiveness. And it's this simple. Make the choice to do so. Make the choice to do so. There are no immutable laws that require it, only consciousness. He describes unresolved grievances like airplanes circling for a landing, and they never do. They take up precious space in your consciousness. They drain your resources because they're there somewhere in your consciousness or unconsciousness, as the case may be. They make you work harder. They increase your chance of accidents, metaphorically speaking, of course. And often the result is stress and burnout. Yuck, enough of that. So what's the value of forgiveness? Well, here are some of the values that Dr. Luskin has found. Forgiveness is the peace you learn to feel when you allow those circling airplanes to land. Forgiveness is for you and not the offender. Forgiveness is taking back your power. Forgiveness is taking responsibility for how you feel. Forgiveness is about your healing and not about the people who hurt you. Forgiveness is a trainable skill. Forgiveness helps you get control over your feelings. Forgiveness is becoming a hero instead of a victim. Forgiveness is a choice. Forgiveness can improve your mental and physical health. Yay, there's another quantum leap for healing. And although time does not permit further detail this morning, suffice it to say that Fred Luskin has worked with hundreds of patients through his program HEAL, H-E-A-L, which stands for Hope, Educate, Affirm, and Long-Range Well-Being. HEAL. And next week, I will bring you a copy of his 9 steps to forgiveness. The book is still in print. It's available. It's worth it. So there are 3 more contributors today to whose shoulders we stand on as we launch ourselves into a quantum leap in healing. Next week, my topic is building the new. And on May 6th, we will do a Q&A, a question and answer discussion service, and you are invited to participate with questions and or by listening. And this is one of those services that we do not record so that we have an opportunity for dialogue. And so it is.
And so it is.